Greetings and salutations, everybody. It is Mecha Jim, and we are back with another episode of the Three Men and an Anime podcast. Huzzah!
Hooray!
All right. So, as usual, I am joined by my good friends Eric Carlson and Gav Leaf. How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
The horrors persist, but so do I.
Excellent.
I made the terrible mistake of eating peanuts before we came on, so that's fun.
Okay.
Chewy.
I see.
I will attempt not to reveal the flavor due to my chewing noises. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
That sounded funnier in my head than it did.
All right. So we are covering my most recent series selection because it's my turn. The Apothecary Diaries. So yeah, apparently I've chosen yet another female-led series from the same season.
Yeah.
As the last one I picked.
Yeah.
We've been doing that.
Yeah. Actually, it's been a bunch of female-led series actually recently, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Most
It's almost
of them
like that's the
actively
trend.
good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've been some like legitimately great characters. So yeah, we're covering the Apothecary Diaries. It is a story set in, I want to say, oh God, what? Hang on, let me double check this. I want to make sure I get the right time period correctly.
Yeah.
Correct here. Set apparently during the Tang Dynasty, which is the time period is a little in flux
Loosey-goosey. Yeah.
because occasionally it refers to stuff that sort of knowledge close to the Ming Dynasty.
Listen, it's not contemporary China.
It is not, but it is not like really. It is not really ancient China. They've had contact with the West.
Yeah, we're gonna call this like medieval China. Maybe late Renaissance. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
My understanding of history is way too Eurocentric. So
yes, that's my issue also. It is at a point where Western medicine has gotten decent because one of the characters has studied medicine in the West and in China and is therefore very good at medicine and has passed that knowledge on to our main character. And therefore, they are very good at medicine.
Yeah.
Well,
and she is, and she does not use leashes.
no, she does not use leeches. No.
Not a single mention of leeches, no.
No.
Not does she bleed people.
Nope. And she's figured out. And she's figured out that lead is.
Is this early 20th century? Because it's about the time we stopped that shit.
Well, again, remember they are blending it with Chinese medicinal knowledge.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, they really didn't do much of that. I mean, leeches have uses medicinally.
Just not for, checks note, everything.
Yeah, like they do. They will allow blood to flow more freely, which can be useful.
They do help balance the humors.
That is less useful. At any rate,
Sir, if I didn't know better, I'd say you had the sloping brow of a career criminal.
Yeah.
oh Jesus Christ.
Have you tried tempening?
Anyways,
So yeah, it is kind of, now that you mention it, it's kind of weird now that we are doing our second period Japanese show with a female lead. Less swords in this one.
this is Chinese.
Chinese. This is Chinese.
Apologies, Chinese. I'm an ignorant Westerner. I do apologize.
It is actually an important note. The society is very different.
Yes, very, very different.
Somewhat less ninjas.
True.
Yep.
And fewer samurai.
Yeah, in my head, I actually had the word Eastern built in, but apparently Japanese came out of my mouth. I do apologize.
It's all right.
Yeah.
As long as we get it right eventually. So,
Yeah.
our main character is a young woman by the name of Mao Mao. She is 17. She has been learning how to be an apothecary from her adoptive father, who lives outside the pleasure district in the large city which is apparently one of the major capitals, because the Imperial Palace is nearby.
Yeah, do they ever actually say which city?
They never name it.
No.
But the royal court is there, so...
I'm going to say Reykjavik.
Seems unlikely, but
Yeah.
so Mau
Somewhere
Mau.
near Glasgow.
Yeah. So Mau Mau, they live near the Pleasure District, including near one of near an incredibly well known and very popular and well off brothel, which I'm forgetting the name of.
Verdigris House.
Verdigris House, yes.
I don't know why that stuck with me. It's just a really clever name because it is literally like it's a really old building, and it was a really tarnished shade of green rather than jade as you'd expect.
Yep.
Because
No.
the jade house or whatever else, that's the imperial stuff.
Yep.
That jade's for the emperors.
Yep.
Here's the verdigris house.
Yep. It's another term for
like
the
verdigris.
how copper tarnishes.
Yep.
Yeah, I always liked verdigris. I always thought it was a good look on.
It is.
Thing.
It's and it's actually as Gab's right. It's a really clever name.
Yes. This is tarnished and corrupt and just a little naughty.
It's a name for a brothel, huh? Go figure. So Mau Mau basically does a lot of apothecary work at the brothel. And we find out, of course, across the show, she grew up there. We'll go more into that later, but yeah, she was basically raised by the old lady who runs the place and the three top concubines. No,
Yeah.
consorts. No, concubines.
Consorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, consorts. That's what I'm looking for. Yep.
Yeah, we do see that it's quite common for young children, especially girls, to end up working there as laundry, basic menial stuff. While
There are a bunch of young women who've been sent to work there for various reasons. Young girls who've been sent to work there for various reasons.
And Mau Mau was one of them. But Mau Mau is a little bit different.
She is,
But yeah,
and we'll get to that because
yeah.
it's important. But yeah, Mau Mau, she's short, skinny, has freckles, which is apparently off-putting, at least in this time period and in this part of the world.
I mean, I guess tastes are tastes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, and she has a conversation with her father. She's going to go do some work at the Verdigris house, and he mentions that people have been young women have been being kidnapped recently, so she take care of herself, and she always does. Naturally, she gets kidnapped.
Of course.
As you do.
After she does some work at the brothel and then goes off to pick herbs, medicinal herbs and stuff. And that's when she gets kidnapped. She is very put out about this. She is
Mostly just annoyed. It seems
Yeah.
like.
she is very clearly quite irritated by all of this.
Yes.
Now, part of this is because of how Mau Mau just is in general.
Yeah.
She tends to be very reserved and does not overtly emotional. Does not always. She does sometimes let her emotions out, and
We have theorized, again, it doesn't really go into anything as detailed, but we have theorized there may be a spectrum involved.
yes,
with
we all had sort of similar thoughts on that. No obvious proof, but
Mau Mau's biggest issue with being kidnapped and stuck in the palace seems to be largely she doesn't get to dick around various poisons and fungi and other apothecary whatnots.
she's a bit of a mad scientist. Now, so she's kidnapped and sold off to just a bit. Sold off to because what often happens is, when girls are kidnapped, they're sold off to as a way to make some money.
Yeah.
And her contract is sold off to the rear palace of the imperial court, which is where the emperor's concubines are.
Yeah.
So everyone in the rear palace is either female or a eunuch.
It is a weird, commentary on the sort of... This whole show does this a lot, actually. It's a weird commentary on the status of, citizens, so to speak, in this time period. Especially women in the very limited choices that they get. It's literally a case of, well, if we manage to get her, she's our slave now, and we'll sell her off. And the authorities yep, cool.
Well, the big thing is that the way they lied when they sold her off. This is the implication we pick up. And that they said, your family can sell you off. So they lied and said they're her family. And there's not much she can do about it at that point. And so she basically, well, okay, I'm a commoner in the rear palace. If I keep my head down and just do my work after the duration of the contract I've been sold off for is up, I can go home. That's about 2 years. Fuck.
Yeah.
But if I keep my head down, I won't get in trouble. I won't get myself beheaded or anything stupid like that. And I can just leave.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, if she complains or tries to stand up and say, "Excuse me, no, this is wrong," she's likely to just get killed.
Yeah, she's a commoner, and and this is an imperial society, and the hierarchy is harsh.
Yeah.
It
There
can't.
ain't no unions here.
No. So we're gonna go over a bit of detail of the first episode because it really does inform the way the rest of the series goes.
Yes.
So the big thing is, we find it also tells a lot about Mao Mao and the other characters in the show. So Mao Mao she's basically she does washing. She does, laundry and such, primarily.
Yeah.
That's what she gets pulled into. She is feigning that she is illiterate, so she doesn't attract attention. Because being literate, a girl her age, being literate is uncommon. And, she just I don't want to attract any attention if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
She hears a commotion going on. She's like, well, okay, what's going on? I gotta see. She's a little bit curious, shall we say.
Yeah.
And there are two of the two of the four most important of the Emperor's concubines are having an argument. Gyokyo and Lihua. They're both they've both just had kids. Gyokyo's had a daughter, Liuha's had a son. This is the Emperor's, this is a potential heir for the Emperor, and this is a big deal because the Emperor does not currently have an heir. And the kids are sick, and they're sort of accusing Liuha is accusing Gyokyo about maybe doing it, and Gyokyo's like, but my daughter's sick too. Like, what the fuck? And they're arguing, shouting, and Mao Mao's sister listening is starts hearing the symptoms, and you can see the gears turning in her head pretty much.
Yeah.
But she can't help but try to solve the puzzle in front of her. And she's like, oh, I know what this is. Okay. I know what this is. I know how to fix the situation. How do I let them know about this without actually tipping off that I'm the one who told them so that I don't attract any attention? So she wanders off muttering to herself. As a eunuch comes walking, a very attractive looking eunuch comes walking by and notices her muttering to herself. He's like, huh. Turns out he's actually fairly important. His name is Jinshi, and he's kind of a big deal. Welcome to her.
He's the prettiest boy at the ball.
Yes. He is widely regarded as the most attractive person in the show, basically. Also,
they tell us this, but we are told he is the prettiest boy.
Yes.
Girl, whatever your preference, he matches it.
He is the prettiest. Period.
Yeah.
Both men and women find him attractive, basically. Apparently, it's not just his looks. He's got a very pleasant sounding voice. He's charming, charismatic. He's very good at talking to people.
He's the bishiest bish to ever bish.
Oh my god, yes.
Yes.
But this is actually part of who he is. Also, we find out later, he finds this kind of annoying. This is his main talent, and he's like, God damn it, I wish I could be known for being actually smart or something. Grr. But yeah, so he notices that, but he's also, turns out, he's basically the head of the rear palace. He's sort of in charge of making sure things go smoothly and all that stuff. And that the concubines do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Any problems, they come to him, and he has to.
He's the head of the bureaucracy in the rear palace, basically.
And that's a hell of a job.
Yeah. So Mao Mao, it turns out, leaves basically strips of cloth with instructions about what the problem is at the I think it's technically palaces. I think they call them is what they call them. Yeah,
Yeah.
pavilions. Sorry, at each of the 2 pavilions that the 2 concubines reside at, with notes about what's causing it and what and how to fix the problem. Gyokyo finds this and follows the instructions. One of her ladies in waiting finds it. One of Liwa's ladies in waiting finds it and goes, throws the plant out the window and just out into the rain and ignores it. Liwa's son dies. Gyokyo's daughter lives. Liwa is very upset about all of this. Jinshi is very happy to find out that at least one of the kids lived. Talks to Gyokyo and says, so how did you know what to do? And she's like, well, we found this note. And she basically called Jinshi, we found this note. I want to thank whoever did this for saving my daughter's life, please. And Jinshi's like, well, okay. Can I borrow the note? Well, it's well written. This is on, looks like the cloth used for the women who do the girls who do the laundry and such. Wait a minute. There was that girl who was wearing the clothing of the people who did the laundry stuff, who was talking to herself. She had freckles, I think. Right. So he calls all of them together and basically, says, holds up a sign while they're in the room that says basically, you with the freckles stay here. Mao Mao, who's been called in, is like, why does he want me to stay here? And then he says, everyone else can go. And she's like, wait, what? Oh, fuck. He trapped me by knowing, shit, I read that. And she's like, well, I'm in trouble. I'm fucked. She's assuming the worst at the moment.
Not without reason. This is Imperial China.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a nice place.
It is not a place. Mao Mao knows for a fact that as a commoner, they can take her head when they want to, if they so desire. Fortunately for Mao Mao and for most people in the Rear Palace, most of the bureaucracy here in the Rear Palace at least seems to be at least not awful.
Yes, there are plenty of bureaucrats in this era that would have said, "You lied and hid the fact that you could read to us. That's dishonesty. We're going to behead you. How dare you approach and offer advice and anything an approach to the lead concubines without permission. We're going to behead you. Even if it came out as a good result, we're going to behead you.
These are all things that could have happened.
Yeah, this is not your place.
You violated protocol. You're way out of line. Time to meet the headsman.
And this is why Mao Mao was trying to make sure that she wasn't found out.
Admittedly, she did have a second reason, which we found out, which was hilarious. And that she realized that if they knew she could read, then they would have basically increased the amount that she got paid, which means her kidnappers would have gotten a bigger share.
Yeah, that's solved. That is solved in a hilarious way.
It is, but that is like her also going, aware of her own situation, but also fuck those guys.
Yeah,
fuck those guys.
And you know what? Fair.
Yeah,
she's not getting the money. Her family's not getting the money. Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck those dudes.
So, Jinshi brings her in to meet with Gyokyo, and she sees the kids alive, and she's like, "Oh, thank God! At least I saved somebody." All right. Well, how am I screwed? We want to promote you. What? You clearly know about medicine and shit. Well, yeah. Gyokyo here is very picky about about ladies in waiting and who work for her. She likes you, which means we can give her another lady in waiting, and that will improve that she should have more for her standing. It's just that she's picky. So you're working for her now. Okay. So Mao Mao has just gotten a big promotion by solving a mystery. It turns out that it's the face powder that the concubines have been using, which is a very white face powder. That turns out is made of lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was This is not limited to China. That pretty much everyone used lead to get anything
Oh, yeah.
resembling
Oh, God,
white,
yes.
because
Yep.
lead makes a beautiful white,
It does.
Yeah.
which is why you should definitely eat it and put it on your face.
Was it Queen Elizabeth that was famously sick due to it as well?
I believe so.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, the Romans used it to use it as a way to in stuff they used to make sweeteners out of.
Yep.
Yeah, lead turns out it's a really useful metal. It's just poisonous.
Yeah, it's really poisonous.
It's the same situation as when when people used to use asbestos to build houses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, but it's really cool. It's fire retardant. Yes, and it's also
and it also turns
lethal.
your lungs to Swiss cheese.
yeah. So things
dear.
that were learned, but
Yeah.
it was really. But this is feeding back to what we mentioned earlier about Momo's disguise with her freckles. And
We'll get to what. Yeah, the freckles is.
we'll get to that. Spoilers, but yeah, she applies the freckles herself.
Yeah.
But basically, it's deemed as freckles in that area was deemed as ugly, as unattractive.
Yep.
Because the pinnacle of attractiveness was white face.
Yeah. Yeah. Pure white. And if you the better the stuff. And Mao Mao knew this stuff was poisonous because she's worked in the pleasure district and she'd seen prostitutes who used this stuff gain immense popularity because they had beautiful white skin, and then they die from lead poisoning.
Yeah. But this is again comes back to what we mentioned a moment ago about the bureaucracy and how single-minded and stupid the whole process can sometimes be. That we find out that the reason that they were using this face paint even after the warnings was because the ladies in waiting that were working were like, yeah, but she wants to look beautiful, so we need to use this because this is what.
Yeah,
works.
that comes that yeah. It turns out that Li Hua is still very sick. We find out a little bit later, and like Mao Mao's sent to try to deal with it. And Li Hua's ladies waiting resent having anybody sent from outside here, so they keep tossing Mao Mao out. And Mao Mao's trying to feed like Li Hua she's not eating anything. She's not eating anything for a while. Giving her heavy food is a terrible idea.
Yeah, so Mao Mao's trying to bring in like rice soup, just something really light, so that she can take it on board and get nutrients. And her ladies in waiting are like, no, but she's sick. She needs as many nutrients as possible. So here, is her fucking lobster and fish dinner and heavy meat.
All the stuff that Li Hua loves, right, is the thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a hell of a meal.
But
Pass
she
it
can't
over.
digest those right now. They're just going right through her.
Yeah.
Like you're
Now-
making a mess for yourself.
Yeah. The problem is that they don't know Mao Mao is basically a legitimate doctor.
Yeah.
Mao Mao's just
they
this, this young girl.
But they will not be told
No.
anything.
So Mao Mao basically she eventually convinces, she runs into Jinshi, and Jinshi's like, so what's going on? She's like, well, this and this. And Jinshi's like, well, would you like my help? And she's like, no, but yes. Oh, yeah. Mao Mao is one of the very few people who is not, turned on by Jinshi in any way, shape, or form. She finds him a little off-putting, honestly.
It's a weird thing with Mao Mao when it comes to anything to do with sexual attraction and anything like that, because obviously she's grown up her entire life surrounded by it.
Yep.
But she's very analytical about it, so she can appreciate that Jinshi is an attractive person.
Oh yeah, she's like, no, Jinshi is obviously gorgeous. She's like, yep, nope,
so,
totally get that.
Yeah, exactly. But whenever he tries, because he's not used to a woman not reacting in a certain way to him, so when he flirts with her, and it's obvious, her reaction is usually revulsion.
I mean, so part of it is Mao Mao has grown up considering herself not attractive, and so clearly Jinshi wants something and is playing her.
Yeah.
She is instinctively no, this is not real flirting. He's not interested in me. Fuck you. Jinshi has no idea how to handle this.
Yeah.
And honestly, eventually, looking at him like with looks of contempt and stuff, he kind of finds this kind of hot. Honestly.
Yeah. It's like she doesn't like me. She's not smitten with me instantly. I must get to know her. Dear God, I actually have feelings.
It's one of the oldest tropes in storytelling. It's when he's surrounded by women that would fawn over him at an instant. The one that doesn't is the one that interests him. You know,
That's not even a trope. Like that's
And that
that
happens.
is
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. It's the one that you can't have situation.
Now, also, it turns out Mao Mao is actually fairly good looking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that she's, hiding her own looks.
Yeah, she's trying not to look less than her best.
Yeah. Now, she also doesn't think she's attractive. She's used to being around, voluptuous, super hot, hypersexualized women.
Yeah.
She doesn't play up her sexuality because that's not who she is. She's a doctor. At least that's what she wants to be.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, as you say, the Verdigris house is known for the three princesses of Verdigris house, who are all three of them just like drop dead knockouts in any era.
Right.
Naturally beautiful, big old tracts of land, as you might say.
Especially Pyren.
Especially Pyren.
Jesus.
With the right attitude and proclivities, shall we say, to
Yeah, I mean, they all have their own sort of like aspect about what they do at the brothel for the customers. Pyren is very much the actual she sleeps with people more than any of the other two do.
Yeah.
Because she really likes sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's built to be, those three are like they're built to succeed, shall we say? Not in a nasty way or anything like that, but they're just really good at what they do, and they earn the money that comes into them, which is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, the other two are Mei and Joka, the Verdigris House ladies. Joka's primarily she does the instrumental stuff. She plays instruments. She sings. She entertains that way primarily.
Yeah. And
Mei is she plays Go fairly well. She's smart, clever, and she's like the nicest of the three.
Yeah, she's the one that does the whole the serving kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like she's the tea maid, the drinks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's the world that Momo has grown up around.
Yeah.
And like I say, Momo is an attractive young woman, but like I say, she's not built that way, so to speak.
No, she is small and she is short and skinny and petite.
Yeah.
And her mindset is like I say, being into science and the skills. She uses the Verdigris house mostly because they can afford to get in like drugs and medicinal herbs.
Yeah. Also,
and
like she
compounds.
literally grew up there. Like,
and she grew up working there. But the thing is, obviously, the whole uglying herself up, so to speak. Not only is it to stop her from getting kidnapped, but there's also the part where the madam of the house is like, Momo, when are you going to start working?
Momo's like, I don't want Mao. I don't. No, I want to be I'm an apothecary, not a fucking not a prostitute. Sorry, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Granny.
I think Granny sees the appeal of a smart, observant woman of her build.
Yes.
Like, Granny's like, I know exactly who to market this to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she
is
also
a niche we do not fill at Verdigris.
we not currently fill it, and also like this is one of the routes to money and like safety for a woman.
Yeah.
Like Mao, the path Mao wants is not a safe one.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to the society and the
Yep.
choices that women have in there. You can become powerful as a woman to a degree.
Yep.
But it's always going to be, at least from what we see, at least if any sort of built-up area or city or that kind of thing, it's going to be in a specific, set role kind of situation.
There are some options within the palace. We find out later. They just don't. They don't appeal to Mao. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. But if one other thing that I will just mention before we move on from this, as well as a working knowledge of sex, essentially, because that's one thing I actually do enjoy about this. Momo, although not experienced as such, she knows the ins and outs of things.
Yes,
so
she does.
She doesn't get like flustered or embarrassed or shy and giggling and that kind of the typical reaction you would expect from a young girl when a guy is flirting with her. Not just because of her personality, but because she's seen all this before.
Oh yeah.
She's been dealing with lectures like for however long. She's actually a lot more mature than her age would
Yes.
would imply.
She is, I believe,
But
17 at the start of the show.
Yeah, but it's also that not only is she sort of like that, her sisters have taught her well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Momo will choke a bitch.
Mao Mao, yeah. Also, like, there are many times she actually passes on, like, sexual tricks from the brothel onto the concubines.
Yes, she
Which
knows
is
more
hilarious.
than the concubines.
Oh,
Yeah.
and she knows the theory.
Yes.
Like, so back to Liwa and her sickness, still being really sick. Mao eventually, Jinshi gets her in, and Mao's like, okay, she can't handle pulled pork. She's got rice water, like, with few grains of rice, maybe. Hang on, I spilled a little bit on here. Let me wipe that. Looks at her fingertips as she's wiping some off the face. Does one moment, rubs the face again, sees there's white powder in her fingers. Looks back at the ladies in waiting, walks back to them and says, "You, are you the one in charge of her makeup?" "Yes." At which point, Mao just open hand slaps the woman in her face to the ground.
Yep.
Grabs her by the hair and drags her over to the dressers.
The women that have been disrespecting her and pushing her buttons the entire time, and just not listening to her advice, have now actually put somebody's life in danger through their own stupidity.
Yes.
And Momo puts up with it the entire time. You know, has infinite patience when they're just having a go at her. But their stupidity have put her life in danger, so she slaps a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, this lady, this pompous lady in waiting that was like looking down her nose at her is looking up, fucking terrified of this 17-year-old girl, and with full authority looms over her and saying, "You get the fuck out of there." Oh no, she actually gets the powder compound and starts applying it to the lady in waiting, saying, "So you like this? Do you see how that, you know?"
So she basically just explains
amazing.
exactly what this does.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, do you want to look pretty? Do you how pretty does a corpse need to be?
it's like you're trying to comfort her with the stuff that killed her son.
Yeah.
You are a fucking idiot.
And so you can tell Matt's like, you are stupid and ignorant.
Yep.
Irredeemably so.
It's amazing from that point onwards, the ladies in waiting that have been giving her shit, at least these 3 or 4, that have been giving her shit since day dot. Whenever you see them, like, bump into her in the streets, they fucking, they cross the street.
They're like, nope! Like, it's very clear they both fear and respect her.
Yes,
Yeah.
thou shalt not fuck with Mao Mao.
But Mao basically, and she comes up with a regimen to basically save Liwa's life. She basically has a sweat house built for her. Basically, you're going to drink an ass ton of tea to promote your urination, to just flush your system, and we're going to sweat it out of you.
Yep.
Because that's all I can do. And it works. And Liwa was very worried that, she lost the air. She's not sure she's like, Mao was like, yeah, you probably can still have kids. But I think I might have lost the Emperor's favor. Well, we'll see. Also, I might have a trick for you. Now that you're putting weight back on.
Yeah.
Because you're about as busty as Pyron.
Yeah.
You do this thing where you sort of squeeze them together over the,
Yeah, it's something he's never seen before, trust me.
She basically leaves it and whispers it to Liwa, and she's like, oh.
Oh, you mean between the...
Oh.
Oh.
Okay. And Gyokyo gets a period of relief, apparently.
Yes.
He's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, so if you haven't made that clear, there's 4 lead concubines. 3 of which are regularly, the way they refer to it is visited by the Emperor.
Yes.
They're basically his own personal consorts.
Yes.
He will go. He will
So
spend time with them.
Yep.
There is an element of companionship. We see multiple times where he's just there having tea and conversation.
Yep.
And everything else, and then at some point later on.
Yes. Now it turns out there are 2 of them he doesn't really do the deed with.
Yes.
One is it was before he became emperor. His one concubine he had when before he became emperor. It was just the prince, who did have a child, and unfortunately their childbirth is really rough on her, and she basically is sterile thereafter, and the kid died.
I believe they said she lost her uterus basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's one of his concubines because they grew up together. Like she is his best friend.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of awesome.
Yeah. Let's just say the current emperor is much less of a piece of shit as the last one.
Oh dear Lord, yes. Because we'll get to the other one he doesn't sleep with. The teenager.
Old, is she?
It's like, yeah.
Okay, so this one's a little bit complicated. So technically, I believe if I'm getting this correct, the 13-year-old is technically the emperor's stepmom and concubine.
Yes. She was one of the previous emperor's concubines.
Yes.
When she was like 9.
Yes. She wasn't the thankfully she wasn't the one that gave birth to the emperor, because God knows that.
The current emperor, no.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the emperor dowager, and she was very young when she had the emperor.
Yeah, the old emperor liked him
young.
fresh. Yeah.
Yeah. The current emperor looks at that and goes, "No, bad."
Yeah. When the current emperor took power, he gave the young girl a position as a concubine just to keep her safe.
Yes.
To keep her out of the hands of anyone else, basically.
Yeah.
But he doesn't visit her in that way. He basically focuses his attentions on.
So he's really spending most of the time with Gyokyo and Liwa as terms of who he's sleeping with.
Yeah. But as I say, he's got 4 concubines. One that is too young.
One can't have kids.
And the third one is deathly ill through lead poisoning. So Gyokyo's been busy.
Oh, we forgot to mention what Mao Mao's primary duty is for Gyokyo.
Yes.
She's a food taster.
Yes.
Now, it turns out Mao Mao is super good suited for this position. Not only does she know a lot about poisons and medicines and all that stuff, but she's also been experimenting on herself with poisons and medicines. So
Yeah,
she's
she's a bit of a
immune.
psychopath.
She's basically built up an immunity to most poisons.
Yeah.
The ones that you
Or at least
can
her
do.
resistance. I don't think you really end up immune.
Yes.
But, she's
Resistant. There's a time she tastes something that is actually poisoned, and she does use an emetic.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's given her at the very least
She's got plenty of time to do that, however.
Yeah, she's got a resistance to it, and obviously she knows the flavor, she knows the taste.
Yes.
So they use her as a taster.
She is very good at the job, and it's a job she finds wildly entertaining.
Yes. Because it also gives, as a bit of a trade-off, it also gives her access to the rear palace as apothecary.
Yes. Yeah, the doctor there is he's a nice guy. Very nice eunuch.
Good at his job.
He's just not a very good doctor.
No. She refers to him as a quack, and
Yeah. I mean, he got the position due to well, no one else was doing it, basically.
Yeah.
The previous doctor was let go. Yeah, turns out that was Mao Mao's dad, adoptive dad.
Adopted dad, yeah.
Yeah. Who is very good at what he does.
Very good.
He's just not very good at a lot of other things, like, business.
Or politics.
Yeah. Or much of anything other than medicine, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, and doing a good job at raising a daughter. Let's be real.
Yeah.
He's actually quite empathetic. Like he's a good person. He's just,
He just doesn't know when to keep his full mouth shut.
Pretty much.
Which is how he ended up in the position he's in now.
Admittedly, that's one of the things that he tries to teach Mao Mao to not not speak out of turn and wait until you have all the information.
Don't speak on conjecture is his big lesson for Mao Mao, basically.
Yeah.
And Mao Mao takes that to heart, and she rarely does. And when she does, she couches it very carefully, and this is just conjecture. There's no proof of any of this. But if this was if X happened, then Y is probably what caused it. One of the things she generally appreciates about Jinshi is that she's able to speak hypothetically about things, and he actually will go, I know who she's talking about. That's who the guilty party is. Yeah. Gotcha. Without her ever actually saying anything.
Yeah, she's actually a bit of a political animal, really, in that sort of regard. She's quite clever in using her words just enough that she can.
She's very good at doing that when it's anything that's not emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
She can get the message across without sticking her neck on the block, which is an valuable skill.
She tries to avoid sticking other people's necks in the block also.
Yes.
Yeah, she's... I think she wants is to get someone's get someone a haircut wrongly.
But she's very good at getting the message across that the people that need to know the information can follow the steps and pick up where she's gotten to, essentially.
Yep. Like, this will lead to this. Like, I will set this up. You want to look for someone who's involved in these 4 or 5 different things. That a person who was involved in those things might have been someone who might have been able to arrange what happened here. I see. So the structure of the show going forward is largely episodic mysteries that largely fuel character interactions between Mao Mao and the other characters in the series. Eventually, most of these mysteries do end up tying together in a big way. We also find out a lot of backstory stuff like about Jinshi, that he is way more important than he looks like at first.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the concubines of the emperor's main concubines, at least Gyokyo, Lihua, and the young one Li Shu, all take a liking to Mao Mao because, you know, who wouldn't? Mao Mao's great.
Yeah.
She's also something that they don't have. Again, it's one of those situations where you've got an entire palace of people that are fawning over them and are yes people all the time. You know, they won't speak out of line because they daren't. And Mao Mao, although she's contrite and, you know, doesn't overstep her bearing, she's happy to have a straight conversation with somebody who's willing to have that conversation with her. Also,
you know, she's saved 2 of their lives.
Well, there is that as well, yeah.
She also saves Li Shu. Li Shu was not about to die, but Mao Mao's like, her taster's bullying her because she's allergic to stuff and thinks that it's just the kid being picky.
Mm.
It's like, no. She's getting rashes from eating this stuff. It could kill her. It's like feeding her poison.
Yeah.
And the taster's like, oh God, that's not what I was trying to do. I am so sorry.
Notice again the ladies in waiting that just think they know everything and won't be told.
Yeah.
This one listens quite quickly. It's just the rest of Li Shu's ladies in waiting who are kind of, you know, unwilling to listen to basically anybody. I mean, they're very much trying to isolate Li Shu and basically, you know, make her rely on them and them only.
Yeah, that's another path to power.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Mao has at least said that Li Shu can actually trust the taster now, because the taster's like, yeah, Mao Mao's scary. Also, she's right. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, like if Li Shu had died, that would be me dead. No. Don't want that. Also, Li Shu is not a shitty little girl. She's just a nice kid. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Wow, I screwed up there.
There's a lot of that going on in the rear palace.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And Gyokyo just turns out is just an utter sweetheart and is hilarious. The number of times that, like, she realizes that Jinshi has utterly misunderstood something Mao Mao has said and is sulking about it, and she thinks it's goddamn hilarious because she's right. It's goddamn hilarious. And lets the misunderstanding continue for a little bit longer than it needs to because it's funny.
Because it's funny.
Yeah.
And then takes immense delight in explaining what's actually happened. But yeah, like, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that that happened. Like, so the first arc, the first half of the series basically builds up to there's a plot going on that involves the emperor's, the consort who's I can't remember her name. Shoot, Ado, yeah, who's the pure consort, the one who can't have kids.
Yes.
Right.
She's getting ready to basically retire as a consort because she's like, yeah, I can't have kids. I don't need this. We found a potential replacement for me. So the emperor doesn't lose faiths, and I can just go off and go back to being what have my relationship with the emperor going back to what it should be, which is friends.
Yeah. Now there is also an air of politics in this as well, because obviously, again, what mentioned earlier with Momo, normally the girls that end up as concubines are sold by their families.
Yep.
And this is basically no different to the the Western monarchies that do deals and political marriages to strengthen the the crown and all that kind of bullshit. So obviously there's going to be powerful families out there that are realizing there's concubine spaces that are not being optimally used, shall we say?
Yep.
Yeah.
And have a position where they could push one of their daughters in there to gain a little bit of power for themselves.
But yeah, so Otto is leaving, and someone tries to poison Lishu at this big. So there's a big garden party thing, where all the concubines are there to be out there and eat with the emperor and such. And there's a little ceremony where people there are little things where important people will pass out hairpins to people they consider important to them. Like Gyokyo gives one to Mao. Gives one to Mao. She's like, yeah, you are one of my ladies in waiting, and you are important, so you get one of these things. Jinshi gives one to her, and Gyokyo is like, oh, well, I can't argue with this. You're not just mine anymore. Mama's like, what? Oh, you don't understand? No, never mind. I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
I'll tell you later because it's funny.
Mamo not knowing this will be hilarious when Jinshi realizes that Mamo doesn't understand what this means. Because it is very much, especially when it's very much a sign of affection.
Yeah.
Also can be kind of viewed as a proposal sometimes, depending on situation.
Yeah. Or a proposition.
A proposition, yes.
Or even a professional, well, like I said, almost. I hesitate to use the word ownership, but like a professional marker.
Yes.
This is.
Yeah, don't fuck with this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is mine, sort of thing.
So,
and unfortunately, Momo goes out collecting these things like Pokemon cards.
She gets one from Gyokyo, which everyone made sense. Jinshi, because in the constant story, yeah, that understandable. Liwa gives her one because Liwa is like, yeah, you fucking rock, you saved my life. And you're important. And I want to make sure you have my protection. And then there's this soldier, Lihaku, who is passing out very basic ones to basically any woman who will take them, just as a consolation prize, so no one feels bad about not getting a hairpin.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Do you want one?" And Mama's like,
the impression he was sort of doing the whole, "I'm gonna put out feelers and see who responds" kind of deal.
There's that too.
Yeah, he's the young up and coming soldier, but he doesn't have the one thing he's missing in his life is a bit of romance, and he's kind of looking for a wife kind of situation, and it's not uncommon for soldiers to buy out either, well, not the concubines because they're the emperors, but like ladies in waiting. If they're not too popular with their concubine, they can sometimes decide to.
There's a whole bunch of different ways that this can go.
Yeah.
But it was also sort of like Mamo takes it as a consolation prize.
Yeah.
But she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Lihaku turns out to be actually an important character, which is great because he's hilarious. He is a complete himbo.
He's an absolute goober. Yeah.
He's not super smart, but he's a very good guy, and he's
thick of muscle, thick of head.
Yeah. Big of heart, dumb of ass.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
So basically, that happens, and basically during the food, Lishu's taster swaps her dish, her dish for her dishes for Gyokyo's, so that the special stuff that's not that stuff that Lishu's not allergic to. This is before she finds out that she's allergic. So she'll get the mackerel, which she's allergic to. It turns out that she just assumes that she doesn't like as one thing. But one of the dishes that Lishu got was poisoned, the soup.
Yeah, legitimately, yeah.
And Mao Mouser takes a sip and goes, I recognize this poison. She drinks it, tastes it, she has this sort of... And everyone's like watching Mao Mao like, holy shit, she's really into this. And she's like, yes, this is poisoned. Excuse me. And goes off to take in a medic. Of course, some jackass minister's like, that can't actually be poison, and tries it, and well,
yeah, well,
see, this is how stupid the court is. It's like you hire people legitimately to take their lives into their hands to taste for poison, and when they say there's poison, you don't believe them.
Most people, I'll say this, most of the people did. It's just that one jackass.
One
and
jackass,
everyone said...
she's just a small, frail girl. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, shut up, you.
I will say, virtually everyone says, wow, what a jackass.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, most of the rest of the season is basically... The first half of the season is trying to figure out who's behind the poisoning, basically. Along with other side mysteries as they go along. These side mysteries are not at all important and don't play into the second half of the season. Nope, not at all.
Not at
all, no.
Boy, how do they play into that?
Yeah, I will say this show got me. Like there's a lot of side stories, a lot of thing. Pay attention to all of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Even the ones that seem like they're throwaways have a payoff in the end. And there are some that we were like, wow, this, like, because every now and again there's a mystery of the week episode, and it's just like, wow, this is like your average 5-year-old would have figured this out, guys. Come on, get to the resolution. We know where this is going, and it's like, yeah, okay, the single episode by itself was maybe not thing, but then you realize when you get to the end, it's like, oh, they had to drill this into you. They had to make sure that you remember this because that was really fucking important. Like, really fucking important. It was not a throwaway.
Nope, not at all.
This needs to stick with you so that when it actually happens, you think, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right."
Oh, that's why we saw the mystery of the smith, the guy who makes stuff out of metal. Oh, well, all right then.
Let's just say there. I'm reminded of the old Garrick quote from Deep Space Nine. I believe in coincidences. Coincidences happen every day. I don't trust coincidences.
Yeah, there are a lot of coincidences that churn up across the show, and they all play together. It turns out.
Yeah.
Turns out there's a mastermind who's basically sets about 20 plates spinning, hoping certain ones fall, hoping at least X number of them fall.
Yeah. Yeah. And to the show's credit, it is actually pointed out, like, they must have had so many things going on that for this to line up like this, because there are too many variables for it to actually be planned.
Right. Yeah. These can't be just one plan. There's got to be like, they're just trying a whole bunch of stuff and hoping that X number of them work.
Yeah. So by the end of it, again, not to spoil, but at the end of it, like we reveal about maybe 4, maybe 5 different like coincidences that play off that turns out they were likely planned. And Momo remarks and says, "Yeah, but this is." Like, no one can predict the future this accurately. Like, no one says, oh, I'm going to do this, which will lead to this, which will lead to this, which will lead to this, without me having any further impact on the thing. They likely set hundreds of these, like, traps for things to happen.
Yep.
And it just so happens that the 5 that we found, well, we found them because they happened.
Right. And Mao Mao is analytical enough to basically see how they could theoretically connect.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
It's a good plan, because it looks like a bunch of random shit that came together.
Yep. Because it largely was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's a fair level of like, I want to say, like, I'm sorry, I'm struggling for the word. It's kind of almost like they don't dive into it too deeply, but they make little passing comments about like mental programming and not brainwashing as such, but like for example, one of the first ones that we get that when you realize that is some kind of mystery because they foreshadow it in the previous episode is there's an explosion in one of the storerooms.
Right.
And it turns out Momo goes through it all, works it all out, and figures there was some really harmless thing in the air. But
it was flour. It was literally just flour dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flour dust. But if you didn't know what you were doing, then you wouldn't realize that lighting a flame, an open flame in that area with that dust would ignite and cause an explosion.
Yeah, it turns out flour silos explode.
Yes. And we see the only clue is a pipe, an ornate pipe. And we see it's foreshadowed in the episode beforehand. We see a shadowy figure, like thank someone for something and give them an ornate pipe as this same pipe as a reward, essentially.
Yep.
And Momo remarks later on, saying, "Well, if this is a really nice pipe. Like if somebody was gifted this, I could quite easily imagine that they'd want to like give it a go straight away."
Yep.
And it was literally a case of so this person gave this other person this pipe near that storehouse, knowing the likelihood that they duck in there to have a cheeky little, smoke.
Right.
And it's those kind of little bits, and it may sound unlikely when you think of it on a grander scale, but in those little things, it's like if you think about it, okay, I'm going to give him this. He's going to want to use it. He's not really known for being a smoker, so he wouldn't go to his own home and partake. He might just nip into that little warehouse that's just slightly ajar that that I left the door slightly open over there. It's kind of I still can't get the word in my head.
Well, it's manipulation. Like she's
Yeah.
And it's a case of this is one possible way to get the effect I want. If it doesn't work, fine. If it does, great.
Yeah. It's like subconscious suggestion, basically.
Yeah.
It's like little cues that if it works, great. If it doesn't, there's something else.
Yep. So yeah. So basically, Mao basically Mao and Jinshi are trying to figure out who was trying to kill Li Shu. They find out that it's Ado's lead lady in waiting. For it looks like at first like it's because Ado's leaving, and Mao's like I don't think that's it. And it turns out, that when Ado's child, her son, the reason he died is he was still a bit sickly because of the difficult childbirth. And it turns out that honey is not safe for small children all the time. Like you have to be very careful with it. Li Shu mentions this because she Feng Ming, the lady in waiting in question, her family runs an apiary.
Yeah.
And
honey is a livelihood, and it's one of those situations where honey solves everything. It's what we do. Yeah. Honey is our life, so honey solves all problems.
And honestly, honey for adults, it's actually really good. And and used judiciously and carefully can be okay for kids, but for infants, it's dangerous. It turns out actually And so, Li Shu nearly died, and now she's kind of allergic to honey. And Feng Ming basically was the kid's cranky and not feeling well, so she's feeding him honey to cheer him up and to settle his stomach. And he dies. And Feng Ming has no idea why until she talks to Li Shu, and she's like, oh no.
Yep.
And now she's like worried about she killed, her mistress's kid. She feels awful about this, but she cannot ever let anyone know this.
Yeah.
And so she spends a lot of time trying to keep Li Shu away from Ado.
Yeah. Which is weird because Ado is actually almost like a surrogate mom to Li Shu. She's like they talk all the time.
Yeah.
It's the oldest concubine and the youngest. She's literally her mother at this point.
And Ado she genuinely is like this. It helps both of them because Ado, she's lost her kid, and Li Shu doesn't never really had a real childhood.
Yeah.
So So Mao Mao basically, confronts Feng Ming, and like Feng Ming's like, well, and Mao Mao basically is like, gives her like, okay, look, it's gonna come out. Now, I can't save your life at this point. I'm sorry. I would love to, because I understand what's going on. It's gonna come out though. What I can do for you is fold the motives together your actual motive isn't what's found out. Because that would hurt Ado, and
So basically, we're gonna set it up so the attempted poisoning will be your crime, not the reason for it.
So yeah, the attempted poisoning was because you were worried that like if we get rid of Li Shu, then Ado doesn't have to leave.
Yes, trying to save her master's job essentially.
Right, despite that wasn't what was going on.
No.
This of course, and so Feng Ming sort of she takes the fall. I mean, she did try to kill Li Shu, like
Yeah.
like she actually tried to kill her, like. But yeah, Otto's not happy about this, and she spends an evening drinking with a friend of hers, Jinshi, it turns out. And then she she runs into Mao Mao, who's sitting on the palace wall, and has a drink with Mao Mao. Mao Mao's like, well, cool, booze.
Right.
I like booze. And they have a chat, and she's like, okay, I feel, and Otto's feeling better after a chat with Mao Mao, and goes off, and Chuck basically, okay, Jinshi, we're done, bye, have a good night. And Jinshi's like, what? Oh god, I'm drunk. And Mao Mao actually loses her balance and falls down, and Jinshi catches her. Oh, poor drunk Jinshi. I feel bad for both him and Mao Mao in that situation, because Mao Mao very clearly doesn't want the attention, but Jinshi is also desperate for any sort of actual companionship at the moment.
Yeah.
It is simultaneously sweet and uncomfortable. Like, it is very much Jinshi, you're kind of being a dick, but you're drunk and you're not doing anything particularly untoward. It's just like, boy howdy, this could go really badly if it was anybody but you. But yeah. So the big problem is that at this point, they basically have to, okay, well, Feng Ming tried to kill one of the emperor's concubines. That means her family's in trouble. Anybody connected to their family is in trouble. Who's connected to their family? The people who sold Mao Mao off here were therefore technically, quote, her family.
Yeah.
Now, this is where we really find out that Jinshi's like kind of important, and more important than we thought. He's like got connections to the emperor.
Yeah. And
like, so Jinshi's got a right-hand man, Gao Shun, who's awesome. He's great.
Gao Shun's amazing.
He is the man. Yeah. Gao Shun basically like...
I am too old for this shit, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes. He ends up playing Watson to Mao Mao a fair bit.
Yes.
Like, the competent version of Watson.
Yeah.
The very, very competent version of Watson. But yeah, he points out to Jinshi, you can just sort of, if you decide that Mao Mao stays, she stays. Like, you have that right. You have that power. And Jinshi, to his immense credit, is like, but everything she said makes me think she doesn't want to be here. I don't want to keep her against her will. Like, as much as I want her here for selfish reasons, I won't keep her here against her will. That's wrong. So Mao Mao's like, oh, fuck. It's possible that the family abducted me, is connected to Feng Ming, and they're all being sent out. I gotta go find out. And she eventually finds Jinshi and asks him about it. And Jinshi's like, yeah, that's the way it is. And he's like, so what do you want to do about this? And Mao Mao's like, well, if you insist on me staying, I'll happily stay. I will stay, Mao Mao's sitting there desperately, if I give him it out to keep me, maybe he'll keep me on. Because I really am enjoying myself here. And
yeah,
that'd be great. But she's like, but I can't actually express that that's what I want, because that's not that's not my place. I'm a commoner. I can't say this sort of shit. And Jinshi's there going, please tell me what you actually want.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be here. Right. Well, then I'll let her go.
Mao will quite often go to the line, I am of low birth, my opinion means nothing. This is your decision.
Right.
To her betters, so to speak, so she won't tell them what she wants because in the court life, what she wants is irrelevant.
Now, this turns out this is not, as far as these people are concerned, it's not, because,
It's not, no.
Because both Jinshi and Gyokyo, at a minimum, both like really value her as both as a person and what she can do. They're like, no, we don't want to let you go, but like, we're also not going to force you to stay.
Yeah.
And so Jinshi, it's like, well, okay, fine. Clearly you don't want to be here. Fine, I'll let you go. And he sulks. Gyokyo is like, you fucking idiot. Like, everyone, like, Gyokyo is just like, you idiot. Of course she didn't tell you she wanted to stay. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
You cost us Mao, you dumbass.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
No, Mao's
like,
partially to blame for this too. Let's be real.
I want to respect her autonomy. I respect her a great deal, and I want to respect her autonomy and give her a way out if she wants it. She's like, I really want to stay, but I know my place, and like, he has to get rid of me. So if I give him an out, maybe he'll let me stay.
She kind of thinks that she's helping him because if she's connected to this and she's allowed to stay, it could potentially show as favoritism.
Right.
Yeah.
She's going through the politics in her head. So why would every single person connected to this family except her be allowed to stay? It might look as favoritism. It might reflect badly on him, especially if then she has his favor and does something poorly in the future, and goes through this whole thing in her head. And like, this is why she always reverts to the choice is yours.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, like, Mao's not good at communicating her wants and desires.
Yeah.
Or just like emotional stuff in general. She's not good at that. That's not how she's wired. Like, talking, like, if it's on a subject like medicine or solving a puzzle or stuff like that, like, there's also things she's good at communicating, and she's good at insinuating stuff.
Like, we get it when she's like explaining the explosion that I mentioned earlier. When she's explaining that to the guard, I forgot his name now.
Lihaku.
She's explaining it to him, and she's right there with like the full explanation, learning aids, an actual physical example that she sets up for him. Like, explains it perfectly and shows him exactly what she means by every single thing. Explains that no problem at all. Simple, like, emotional sort of like you say, wants and needs. Nah. just silence. There's nothing there.
As I said, we all kind of suspect she might be on the spectrum.
Yeah.
There are things she's good at, but at any rate, we also forgot one really important bit that I do want to mention involving Lihaku. So Mao finds out about the whole like hairpin thing, that like, if she's vouched for by an important male figure, she can like, leave the palace for a while.
Yeah.
And these hairpins are usually in syndicates of people who would be willing to do that. So she's like, well, I've got one from Jinshi and one from this Lihaku guy. I don't want to bother Jinshi with this bullshit. Also, I'd really rather not owe Jinshi anything. I'm not sure. The only reason that I can think of that they vouch for me is that I gave them something in return. I can't get the one thing I can give. Jinshi wouldn't be interested in because he's a eunuch. So Lihaku, buddy, pal. He's like, oh wait, you're the girl from the thing. By the way, during the garden festival thing, she'd had makeup done and had the freckles taken off. Like, all the ladies in waiting at Gakyo's place were all like, oh, we can dress her up and maybe we can cover up the freckles and we can see how pretty. Wait, the freckles are, you're disguising yourself with the freckles. Mao, you're actually like really pretty. Like, why do you do that? And eventually Jinshi actually asks her, and she tells him why, and it's because so she can avoid being, raped by the people who didn't get their satisfaction at the Verge's house because she's this. Well, if I'm short, skinny, and like also got freckles and such, I'm much less likely to be harassed. Yeah. And Jinshi's like, well, fuck. I'm really sorry. I wish I could have done something. We could do something about that. And she's like, I know you can't. It's okay.
That's actually one of the big turning points between her and Jinshi when he starts actually taking notice. Not just because she's dressed up, but obviously because he's her. He kind of realizes that she's always led this like secondary life.
Yep.
Where she's like hidden who she is under what people expect of her.
Yep.
This resonates with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Turns out this is largely this is Jinshi's life in a different way.
Yeah.
Jinshi comes from a place of immense privilege and has to basically, but to do anything resembling what he wants, he can't really use it. So, he basically has to hide who he really is, and he's kind of okay with not being who he really is. That involved being a lot even more involved in the politics than he kind of wants to be.
Also, we're not going to spoil that. We have theories, but it's not actually revealed in this season.
We're not spoiling the full thing. We've got theories, yes. But yeah, so Mao Mao basically offers Lihaku's like, well, yeah, you realize I wasn't really serious about this, like. And Mao's like, but I can offer you something in return. What could you possibly offer me? How would you like to visit one of the three princesses at the Verge's house? And he's like, what? Excuse what? But the brain shuts down.
Now take into account they work out, and his annual wage could not afford one appointment with one of the princesses. His annual wage for a couple of years.
I know. I think it was his. Not his annual wage couldn't afford it. Like that, a regular commoner's annual wage couldn't.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't have the money on him to afford this. But like, also he wouldn't get in without an introduction from Mao Mao. Basically.
Yeah.
He's like, you can actually give an introduction. Yes.
The princesses are exclusive.
Yes. So he gets an introduction to Pyrin.
He was not prepared.
He was no, he wasn't.
Yeah.
It turns out he is utterly smitten with Pyrin.
Yes.
And she likes him.
And Pyrin likes him muscly and dumb.
Muscly, she likes him big, strong, with lots of endurance, and smart matters less to her than,
heart.
Than heart. Yeah. She likes the himbos.
Yes.
And you know what? Fair.
Yeah.
Like, I could totally get why she'd be into Lihaku. Like, yeah, he's just a good dude.
Yeah. But yeah, we do see him a little bit later, and she she doesn't leave leftovers, doesn't that girl?
No.
No.
But like most of the time, like people she's with, like they're like done for a while. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm tired.
Yeah.
She's like, really? Okay, he can keep up with me. Impressive. Also, apparently, according to Mao Mao, he's just a good, he seems like a good guy to me, and Mao Mao's vouching for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That goes for a lot. Mao Mao's word goes for a lot.
Oh, a lot, yeah. Mao Mao's really good at, like, reading, like, actually figuring out if people are good people in general, like. But yeah, so.
Good at that shit.
Yeah, that is one of my that whole like ongoing budding potential relationship is very cute and funny.
Yeah, it does. Again, one of those things where you think it's just a throwaway joke. It is actually part of.
Yep, it comes back.
Forward. Yeah.
But yeah, so we in the second half, basically, so Gaoshin and Gyakyo basically come up with a plan to basically, okay, we got to get like Jinshi to talk to Mao Mao again. And maybe he could fix things. What if I arrange a party like where the Verge's house basically comes to entertain at it, and Jinshi will be there, and Mao Mao will almost certainly be there because apparently she's tied to the place. Yeah,
but it is also another little hint at Jinshi and his actual background because he's chief eunuch of the rear palace. And he can afford to hire all three of the princesses.
and more and more concubine and more members of the Burgess house. Like Mao Mao's there as an entertainer. Also, she's there to serve people.
Yeah.
Because she can't dance. Well, she can, but not very well. She's not properly trained. And so she's serving. She comes up to serve Jinshi, and Jinshi's like, she's like, wait, Jinshi-sama? And he's like, wait, Mama, what are you doing here? Wait, are you working for the place? Yeah. What? Wait, you're like. So they actually had to have a conversation about like they find out both of them are like, oh, we're fucking idiots. God damn it. And Jinshi's like, okay, so you're a you're actually here as a concubine or courtesan. She's like, well, technically, yes. So do you take customers? She's like, not yet. I'd prefer not to. But the madam is like trying to push that, and she's trying to sell me off, and he's like, buying you out, you say. So yeah, Jinshi shows up the next day like, I would like to buy one of your courtesans. I'd like to buy out Mao Mao's contract. And the granny's like, sweet, that's a lot of money. Okay. Also, are you cool with this, Mao Mao? She seems to be utterly enthralled by this fungus, this weird fungus thing on these insects you've given her, and is dancing a jig. I'll take that as a yes.
As is tradition.
Mao Mao, when she's very happy, dances this weird sort of, as Jinshi describes it, as a cursed dance. It's a jig type thing, which we find out later she learned from Granny. It's the same thing Granny does when she's made a deal for a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh god, Granny is hilarious. So the second half of the series is basically tying together all the coincidences is more mysteries being solved. Mao Mao working directly for Jinshi now, and no longer in the rear palace. Jinshi tries to get her made a court lady. Mao Mao doesn't really study properly for the test because
he doesn't realize how actually important and useful it could be.
Well, there's that. Also, she's really not good at learning things she's not interested in. She's got hyperfixations.
Yes, yeah.
This is not her hyperfixation. Therefore, kind of unimportant.
Yeah. Put her on the path to medicine and that kind of thing. She'll ace it. But it's like learning the other things that a lady of the court needs to know. She doesn't give a care.
She's like, I can't focus on it. I'm sorry.
How did you fail? How did you think I would pass?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
a literal
line.
conversation. Just like, how did you fail? Why did you think I was going to pass? Okay, I guess you're going to be one of my servants then.
They do at the very least have she gets a lot of leeway compared to what most servants would get just because of her skill set. They do she's seconded to different areas at any given time because she knows shit that basically no one else in the palace knows. Which comes in, but I mentioned this too while we were watching it. I do kind of think it's. And I understand the why of it, but I was kind of frustrated at points in the show where it's like, you know what she can do, you know her skill set, and you have her cleaning dishes. Yeah. It's like, well, yes, because she's still a serving girl, she still has to keep up appearances.
Yep.
And do the job that she's assigned to.
Yeah, and she's given a lot of leeway and autonomy. She's still, has to pull her weight in her.
It's like, yes, she knows more than the current doctor and apothecary. We can't make her an official apothecary. She's a girl.
Yep, that's the problem.
She's a girl, and she didn't pass the test.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, there is a female apothecary, but she's passed the test.
She's a lady of the court, yeah.
Like, had Mao Mao passed the lady of the court test, they probably could have made her an apothecary. But I'm pretty sure that's what Jinshi wanted to do.
Yeah, I think that was his cunning plan, which Mao Mao fucked up.
Yeah.
These guys don't know how to talk.
No, they don't.
They don't know how to talk to each other.
Like, I'm willing to bet you, had Jinshi told her, okay, if you pass this test, you'll get to be an apothecary. You'll get all this cool stuff. She would have applied her. She would have been able to learn it better.
Yeah.
And it's not a question of like applying herself. She would have been able to focus on it better.
Yeah.
Give her an actual goal other than You get to be a lady of the court. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I could speak from experience. Urgency or interest.
Yep.
Those are the two ways to get things done.
Yep. So yeah, so we start seeing what all the spinning plates are. So Mao Mao basically solves a couple of either attempted murders or murders, all of which are lead up to. Oh, we also are introduced to the chief strategist for the Imperial Army,
Right.
Lacan, who is this sort of slightly creepy older dude, middle-aged dude who wears a monocle. He comes off as kind of a skeezy dude for a lot of the show he's in.
Deliberately so.
But part of that is kind of like it's more really, it turns out it's less about him like being a skeezy dude and more that he just doesn't care about appearances.
I wouldn't say skeezy, I'd say shifty.
Yeah.
Skeezy implies that he's like a bit of a creeper, but he doesn't.
Well, there's a bit where it's implied that he is.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about
the story about how to devalue a courtesan.
The concubine, and he's sort of implying that he's done something horrible, which he thinks he has. It's just that he turns out that no, he didn't.
I mean, yes and no. I mean,
not in the way he thought.
It just sort of lends to the shiftiness. Like he comes across as untrustworthy in a variety of ways.
Oh, no, he absolutely does. I'm just saying that for a moment, it seems like he's like a rapist. Let's not.
Yeah.
It turns out he's not at all. He's just really fucking awkward. He made a minor mistake that cost basically him the love of his life, the actual love of his life.
Yeah.
So he's basically shows up to Jinxi's place and starts basically dropping off little mysteries for Mao Mao to solve. It's very clear. It becomes very clear he's testing Mao Mao to a certain degree, and Jinxi to a degree also. But like he's trying to set things up so he can interact with Mao Mao because, well, it turns out she's his daughter. Like biologically, she's his daughter. Mao Mao is not fond of him. For a lot of reasons. So yeah, basically Mao Mao's mother, we find, this is one thing we do find out. This is important stuff. This is technically spoilers, unsurprisingly, but the most valuable courtesan prior to the current sort of reign of the three princesses was Fang Shen, who was a very sort of arrogant and cold, curt, not very, did not suffer fools gladly, was brilliant at Go and chess.
Yeah. So as you may have mentioned a couple of words earlier, Peter, that describes her, intelligent and acerbic.
Yes.
Yes.
I wonder where Mao Mao gets that.
Good question. It's a good question.
And how the madam might know how to market that.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah. So Lacan turns out suffers from face blindness. Like he just cannot connect facial features together to form a person's face. He can't tell people apart. His uncle, who was a court eunuch, who was a doctor, basically eventually teaches him how to sort of, figure things out from how people talk, how they move, their bodies and such. So while he can't sort of see faces, he can still tell people apart.
Yeah.
And so he generally sees sort of people as basically, either, chess pieces or Go pieces, depending on how relatively important they are to in the world. So it's not so much that he's like, okay, so this guy is really important. Therefore, he's a high-ranking chess piece. This person is just so basically just another person. They're either a white go piece or a black go piece, depending on whether they're male or female. This is not a so the first person he meets who he actually can just sort of put together their face is Feng Sheng. And because he goes to basically, he's a brilliant chess and go player himself. And he's the best in the military. So he ends up working for the military, despite he's not physically great. He's a genius. He's an incredible strategist. So they bring him to the Virtus house to play function in chess or go. So they play go.
He's referred to as the undefeated of the army or something like that.
Versus the undefeated of the pleasure district.
No one can beat him basically.
And he's like, "Oh, okay, she's really good. She's a big fish in her small pond. Okay, we'll play go, her preferred game. Sure. She just crushed me. Oh my god, she just crushed me. This is awesome.
You are the best person ever. We are friends now."
And she's like, "Shall we play a game of chess now?" He's like, "Yes." And he wins a chess. And so whenever they can, they play. And he basically always wins a chess. She always wins a go. And so he can't come all the time because she's incredible. She's incredible.
Expensive.
She's expensive. And while she doesn't have a ton of people after her, she's got a very dedicated following after her.
And she gets more and more. So he used to visit her once a month, and he has to start visiting once every 3 months because of how expensive she is.
Yep. And on one of them,
she can give him a discount. That's all, madam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on one time when he visits, she's like, "Okay, we should we're good play. Let's have a little bet on this game, shall we? We haven't done that before." And he's like, "Okay. What's it going to be?" Well, whoever wins, basically can demand a favor from the loser. Okay. Which game would you like to play? He's like, "We're going to play Go." Because I'm not sure if I can I'm not sure how I'd phrase it if I won.
Yeah.
So she wins, and they sleep together. Amusingly, when they wait after they've had sex, they're both like, she's like, I just want to play Go again. He's like, I was thinking I wanted to play chess. Unfortunately, this is about when his uncle has the screw up with screws up with the basically the birth of the emperor's son. This is the previous emperor. So he gets thrown out and is disgraced, and therefore his family's disgraced, and therefore Lakan's disgraced. So his father's who doesn't like him, is like, "Okay, look, you're gonna have to leave town you have to leave the country for a while just till things blow over." And he's like, okay. So he writes to Function. He's like, "I've got to leave for a while. I think I'll be back in 6 months." Yeah, 3 years later, unfortunately. Yeah. So he comes back and finds out that and he comes back and he's heard that things are not good for the Vergis house at the moment. Things have gone really badly. And the Granny's like, "Where the fuck were you? Oh, you asshole, you're back now after everything's gone horribly. You don't give a shit about her." And he's like, "What happened?" Well, it turns out she was pregnant. She got pregnant with his kid.
Yeah.
Therefore, she lost status because that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, because it's the worst thing that can happen to a concubine.
Yeah.
It's the fantasy that all concubines. It is despite knowing full well what they do for a living. It's like the concubines are all untouched and fresh and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if they've had a kid, then they're tainted somehow.
Yeah. So she basically just had to she was no longer in demand as what she was, so she just had to take clients, and she got syphilis.
Yeah.
So it, syphilis is really bad shit, folks.
Yeah.
And not easily treatable in this period.
Not easily treatable without
not easily treatable, period. But yeah, it's like
it's very easy to treat now.
Yeah, but it's a death sentence back then.
Assuming you catch it in time.
Yeah, assuming you catch it in time.
And so said eunuch doctor, who is, by the way, Mao Mao's adopted father, and is actually related to her, turns out.
Yeah.
It's her great uncle, it turns out. Yeah, he basically arrives. If he arrives to basically do like help out with medicine stuff, but like nobody really trusts him immediately. It's like, yeah, some strange eunuch doctor just showed up. I don't know if we can trust him. So he didn't find out about the syphilis in time to actually do anything to help other than treat symptoms because she was in remission when he arrived, and yeah, by the time she came out, it's kind of too late to do anything about it other than treat the symptoms. So yeah, basically he comes running because he got a letter from her where she's included basically one of her fingers she cut off and the tip of one of Mao Mao's pinkies.
Turns out, if as Mao Mao points out, if you take the tip off of your finger, it can grow back, especially if you're young.
Yep.
So
it grew back crooked, however.
Yes. Yeah, Momo's got a crooked pinky on her. I think it's a left hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that the memory of her mom doing that is a bit of a nightmare. Is a recurring nightmare of Mao Mao's. But yeah, yeah. So it's a really shitty situation. So like, Lacan very much like if he blames himself because he should have figured out that she actually Functioning actually cared about him, and this was all like had he known, maybe he could have insisted to stay or do something or bring her like buy her out. Since she's pregnant, it should be cheaper to buy out.
Yeah,
and which is what she wanted. She's like, the guy I like can't buy me out because I'm going to be way too expensive. If I get pregnant, that'll make me super cheap. And he can buy me out. I can be with the guy I love.
Yeah.
Of course, no one fucking talks in this show, which would have solved the problem.
Yeah.
Well, again, we're talking with two people who neither of whom are good at talking to people.
Yeah.
Yes. The issue though is and as much as I like the madam, you can also tell that she's a business.
Sure, she's a businesswoman first, absolutely.
Yeah. She's a shark,
Yep.
And although she's got a heart. Like if they'd have presented this plan, she'd be like, "No, fucking no, you're my main attraction."
Right? No, absolutely.
She wouldn't have gone for this. So the pregnancy angle would have been, that would have had to be something they did together.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have been. I'm talking about the two of them talking.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Had Functioning told anything to Lacan. The problem is that she knows Lacan's really smart. I'm betting she's kind of assumed that he can read between the lines.
Right.
He can't read between the lines. He's not that's the sort of thing he can't do.
Yeah.
All of this happens in one episode.
Yes.
Yeah. but this is the thing.
We are getting carried away, guys. It is late.
Yeah. We should sort of wrap things up. So the last important thing we do need to talk about is what leads to all of this, which is the knotting together of all the spinning plates, which is leading to an assassination attempt against an important noble. Mao Mao's like, well, fuck. Okay, so this is all leading to the fact that all this is set up to let this thing be, these particular ceremonial tools be stolen, so they can be. Why would they be stolen? Oh wait, the blacksmith who died had a special metal that has a very low melting point. And this ceremonial tool is supposed to hold a big heavy thing. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit. When's the next ceremony happening there? Today? Fuck. So she boogies off, tries to try to stop the ceremony so that whoever important there doesn't, die. Because that's going to be bad for a lot of commoners if an important noble is assassinated.
Oh yeah, the witch hunt after that would be
yeah. So if she can stop this, a lot of pain and suffering will be averted. So yeah, she basically gets the gate, and the guard is having none of it because, of course, he's not having any of this.
Right.
For a number of different reasons, not the least of which there's a 17-year-old serving girl has just come up to demand entrance into this place for the actual nobility. No, fuck you. And Mao Mao's like, okay, fuck. What can I do? Well, if I can cause things to go get rowdy enough, maybe it'll cause a bit of a riot and they'll stop it for a riot outside. Okay, I'll accuse him of being in on it and he'll get pissed off and maybe he'll start something that'll like get out of hand. And she succeeds at pissing him off.
Yeah.
He decks her, he hits her with a club.
Worst idea.
It doesn't quite work. He does deck her with a club and basically, breaks her cheekbone, gives her a concussion, and probably breaks her nose too. Mao Mao's not in good shape at this moment. But running on adrenaline, she gets back up, and fortunately, Lacan is there, and he's like, you can tell he's very upset that someone just hit his daughter. But he's also reading the situation because he's good at that. This is the sort of situation he's good at reading.
Yeah.
And he basically said, no, I'll vouch for her, just let her go in. And Mao Mao books it in because he's like, she's clearly got something, she's clearly figured out what I've sort of intuited. So Mao Mao runs in and she's like, okay, so the thing's there and there's somebody underneath it and it sounds like it's about to break. I'm going to try to tackle him out of the way in time to save him. Maybe I'll do that. And she does. And is very surprised to find, very surprised, a bit hard to say, she is badly concussed and has had her leg injured by the thing falling. She's bleeding profusely from her leg. It's Jinshi.
Because of course it is.
Yeah.
And Jinshi's like, what the fuck just happened? And Mao Mao, what happened? What happened to your face? What happened? What the fuck just happened? What?
I like how she actually kicks into apothecary mode. She's like, yeah, my leg's pretty badly. Can I stitch this now?
And then she passes out.
Yeah.
And Jinshi, kudos to Jinshi's voice actor, by the way, in this scene. Because he sounds utterly heartbroken right now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, are you, no, hey, don't pass out. Oh no.
And then we get the great image of this high-ranking noble that we're told. We don't know where he is yet, but he's clearly a high-ranking noble carrying the unconscious body of a serving girl through the streets with a trail of blood like dripping from her leg.
Yep. And it's very clearly he is not happy.
No.
Yeah.
I did notice that the guards that gave us such a hard time were fucking gone when he came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Mao Mao survives this and eventually figures out who's behind all this. We're not going to spoil that because that's a really cool reveal.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a good reveal. The scene where she actually reveals it is great.
Yeah.
Mao Mao's evil laugh is great.
And we assume it's going to lead into season 2 as well. So
yeah, because there's going to be a season 2.
Yep, already announced.
Yep. But yeah, so eventually she has her confrontation with Lacan, which leads to us finding out about the concubine stuff and her mom and their relationship. And basically, they have a bit of a duel, a bit of a bet over best of 5 at chess, basically. I'm also not going to spoil how Mao Mao wins this, but she wins.
Yeah.
Because how she wins is awesome.
Yeah.
And her basically, if she loses, she'll have to, once her contract's up with Jinshi, she'll go back and live with Lacan. If Lacan wins, he agrees to buy out one of the courtesans at the Virgis house. Mao Mao's trying to set up a nice exit for one of the 3 princesses who basically were her sisters growing up. Yeah. Pyron was basically her mom. She's trying to basically set up an out for Mei Mei because Mei Mei is super sweet and like had connections with Lacan and is is getting on in years for a concubine. And Mei Mei's like, before you like, if that's what you want, I'll absolutely go with you because I do respect you and etc. But maybe you should check out what's going on over here in the sick house, and which is where Fang Xing is, slowly dying of syphilis.
Yeah,
and having lost most of her sanity at this point. She's basically She's basically mostly just sort of sings lullabies and plays Go against herself on her bed sheets. And Lacan goes in there and is like, "Oh my god, she's alive! I didn't know she was alive."
And she's here.
Yeah.
like I never thought I'd see her again,
Yeah.
alive or dead.
Right. So he's like, no, I'm buying her. And the madam's like, you can't. He's like, I know she's saying like whatever it takes. I don't care.
Yeah. She's like, you
Yeah.
said I could have my pick. I want this woman.
And this is where I think Granny realizes that no, this is that he actually is in love with her. She's like, oh, well, I can make some money off this.
Well, yeah. At the very least, I mean, they don't sugarcoat it a little bit later. Like even Mao says that like the courtesan he she's very detached from it. Also, she's like the courtesan he purchased doesn't have won't last too much longer.
Yeah.
But at the very least, they can have they can try and have some time.
Yep. Which is what he wants. He gets closure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like she's a shell of who she was, but there's enough there, and just for the sake of the memory of what they had.
Yep. And Mao, she doesn't really consider her mom. She wasn't there psychologically for her. She was already too gone by that. By the time she could actually.
It's actually one of the themes of the show. It's like separating biological parentage to
right.
Of biological family to
found family
to chosen
versus
family.
yeah.
like legitimately, like Pyron is basically her mom, like
yeah,
and her adoptive father is her dad, like she like
yeah. And we've mentioned the whole thing with the actual concubines at the Imperial Palace, and how they work with each other and versus the actual emperor being the father. He's not the father. He's just there.
Yeah.
Like you can tell Gyakyo and Liu are both like fond of the emperor. It's like he's like they're in love with him, but like they could do far worse as far as they're concerned. Like he's not a bad guy, and they enjoy time with him.
There's plenty of precedent for the emperor to be a very bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so basically, with her mom being bought out, Mao does there's apparently a tradition in the Virgis house where they when a concubine is bought out, they dance to send them off. So Mao does a little dance on the top of the wall, dressed up, where Jinshi discovers her and is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she's like, almost falls off the roof.
Yeah.
Again. And she explains it to him. He's like, "Oh, okay. Mao, you're bleeding again. Oh, I threw my stitches. Well, I guess I'll stitch that up right now." He's like, no, we're going inside now. And that's basically where the show ends. The season ends.
Season 1 ends.
We're getting a second season. They announced it at the end of the final episode. Yeah. So that's
crazily, it's staying with the same studio as well, which is
it's Toho. It's Toho, so and OLM.
Yeah.
So but that's the Apothecary Diaries. I guess we should get into final thoughts because we've been going a while. So Eric, then Gav, then me. This is my pick.
So I like this show. Mao's great. I wouldn't say this is one of my favorite shows.
Yep.
But I'm glad I watched it. It was good. It's it's not especially well animated, but does its job. Like there's no point where I just want to like punch the screen. This isn't like friggin' Kuroko no Basketball or
no. It's generally
it's
generally competently animated.
Yeah, it's
it has a few moments where it goes above average. I would say definitively.
Yeah, it has a few moments where it goes above average, and there are a few moments where it has very limited animation. But they're also used creatively and comedically, so I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that when Mama gets kicked out of a room, it's just a still of her kneeling, bouncing,
and it's
street,
hilarious.
and that's funny. Yeah. And it's a good use of limited animation.
Yep.
So yeah, just as an example.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I liked it. It's just the problem with this show is that I can't help but to compare it with its immediate contemporaries, and Jesus Christ, is this a good season?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It would be anywhere else.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I've got Free Run right there.
They came out the same season.
Yeah. I can't
we
help
said,
but
Mau Mau-
compare the two. That's the problem.
Mama would be the best girl if it wasn't for Freeran
And Fern.
Fern.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Which isn't fair, but I can't help it. I'm being
Yeah,
honest about that.
it's not fair.
Yeah.
I agree. It's not fair, but what do you do?
Yeah, it's not fair, but I can't help but to make the comparison. I think it's a big part of why I am not as impressed with the show as I feel like I should be.
Right.
So, yeah, that's where I've got. Go watch it. Make your own decision. You won't regret watching it. It's not like it's bad. It's not like it's even mediocre. It's very good.
Yeah, right. It is at worst. It's like I think it's like at worst it's like a solid like B at a minimum.
Yeah. I would say a solid B. That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
So
this is one of those shows that I was. It doesn't happen often, but I was engrossed enough in the story that like I was actively, and not to say that I don't look forward to our watch parties, but I was actively wanting to get to Friday to see what happens because the story actually is quite interesting, and it is a slow enough burn that it's like it scratches that. It pushes that button that's just like. You know when, oddly enough, like I do, you know when somebody's trying to say something and they won't get to the fucking point?
Yeah.
And you're just like saying, just give me that key bit of information I need to start putting things together. The show does that a lot. It baits the hook and just gives you enough information to be like, wait, but what? But it's a 24, is it 24 episode show?
24, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, like I said, as I was watching it, I thought it was getting a little bit padded. I wanted them to get to the main plot, and then realized that I was watching the main plot the entire time. I just didn't realize it. So yeah, the writing very clever. I actually kind of enjoyed that. Character work is incredible.
Yeah.
Momo's little habit of like onomatopoeia.
Yes.
Is so fucking endearing. Like the number of times where like she'll be walking down the hallway, just trying to avoid Jinshi, and she'll just like start walking around going sneak, 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 sneak. It's like that little foibles they throw in. The fact that the character work that gets like one of them that stood out to me is the madam. Weirdly enough, because you can tell, like I say, she's a businesswoman.
Yep.
She's a money hound. She's a shark, but she also realizes that her product is also human.
Yep.
And a lot of times, some aren't quite so nice. So although she's like pressuring Momo to get into the business, she's not like forcing her. She's not heavy arming her until she has no choice, and she comes back from the palace the first time.
Owing a bunch of money, by the way.
That's the thing, yeah. So owing a bunch of money because of favors she's done. She's happy to do you a favor, but you are paying her back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a heart, but it ain't made of gold. Only money. But yeah, other than that, Eric summed it up really. It's one of those shows. Go watch it, make your own decisions. It's a slow burn. It's a clever show though, so give it that chance. And it is all about the character work. It's the actual build over the course of the whole 24 episodes. It needs to be viewed as a whole. The 3 episode test, as they say, I don't think it really works on this show.
I would agree with that.
It needs to. You need more of the. There's just too much development. You get an idea who the characters are, but you don't really dig into the meat of them until much later in the series. But yeah, go watch.
So yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I really like the show a lot. It's a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. I adore Mau Mau. Like she's legitimate. Again, Eric's completely right. It's really unfortunate for the show that it came out the same season as Freerun, because like Mau Mau would be my favorite. Same year as Freerun. Let's be real. I think Mau Mau would be my favorite female character of the season of the year if it wasn't for Freerun and both Freerun and Fern are in that. It's like, And I will also say major props to all the voice acting, but especially Aoi Yuki, who's the voice actress for Mao Mao. Also, Madoka from Madoka Magica and Tanya from the Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Yeah,
Among a bunch of other stuff. Like, she's got serious range, and she absolutely
she's
kills
good
it.
at her job.
She absolutely kills it as Mao Mao.
Yeah, just to do Tanya and Mao Mao, that is like, okay.
Like, you can hear elements of both those characters in Mao Mao from time to time, but like, it's just Mao Mao is just a completely different character.
Yeah,
like all of his characters are just completely different from one another, and I adore them. They're all great characters. Mao Mao is just I adore her. She's so much fun. And like I had so much fun with the characters in the show, and like the mysteries individually aren't super amazing, and the mystery they pile into is solid, and it's cleverly written. It's not a mystery that you can I didn't really care about the mystery on rewatching it, because I watched this on my own before we did it as a group, I was less focused, so much less focused on the mystery on my second watch through of this, but that didn't matter to me because I was having so much fun with the characters again. Like, I really enjoyed the mysteries as a vehicle for character interaction. Like, the mystery itself, we're fine and serviceable, but like that's not like the strength of the show in my opinion. Also, I also want to give a shout out for the music. The music's great. Kevin Penkin is involved in the music, so, Kevin Penkin's fucking amazing, so. If you don't know who he is, he did all the music for Made in Abyss, so,
Ah, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Now it clicks.
Yeah, he's really good. I don't think he's the only one who did music. Yeah, he's not the only one who did music, but he did some of the music for it, so, thumbs up. I highly recommend the show. It's a lot of fun, and so I think we all agree you should check this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, it's not groundbreaking. It's not the best show of its age because, like I say, 3 was out at the same time. But it's definitely worth a watch.
Oh yeah. And from everything I've heard, there's another show this year that is also like top flight that we might be covering at some point. Speaking of which, Eric, what's your next series? What's you're picking next? What you picking?
I think I might go in blind. I think, from what I've seen, Dan to Dan looks like it might be my pick.
Yep. By the way, that's the show I was just talking about.
Yeah. Because, well, it looks beautifully animated. It looks completely off the wall, and quite frankly, I could do with some fucking absurdity. So
totally fair. So
I will advise. I've actually watched the first 4 episodes so far. I'm going to stop now and wait for the actual the review, the watch-alongs. Yeah, we're in. You are in for your absurdity, Eric. You are in for your absurdity.
Excellent.
So we're doing Den to Den.
Not to, and obviously I know not to get too far. We'll do a full review on it. But when people have been comparing it to Fooly Cooly, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love me some Fooly Cooly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. Go watch Apothecary Diaries, guys, if you haven't already. It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And we'll be back when we finish Den to Den. So till then, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, humans.
Peoples.